Welcome to Focus on Business, a podcast show for photographers with me, your host, Jane Goodrich. I'm talking to successful photographers so you can learn from our experiences and have the business of your dreams. So join us and let's focus on business. Hi, so today on the show, I am really so excited to have Lisa DiGeso, and she is a fabulous newborn maternity photographer and also has massive platform for newborn family photographers. That is the Milky Way. And I think basically one of the first online courses back in, 2016? I think I was 2012. 2012. Wow. Well, I don't think I did it in 2012, but I definitely have been a member of your community for a long time. And I just think you're fabulous, and welcome to the show. Tell our listeners a little bit more about you.
Well, I have been a photographer since 2010 when I picked up my first camera after the birth of my beautiful baby boy. He was our little IVF miracle. And we'd struggled for about 6 years to have a baby. So when I had him, I just did not want to have a day go by without taking a photo. And at the time, I only had like a crappy little point and shoot. So I ended up saving up all my money for a good 4 months. And then finally for Valentine's Day, I didn't quite have enough. My husband said, I know you really just want a camera, so let's go get you your camera. Up until that point, I actually had been reading. I'd been on online forums. There was one called I Love Photography way back when. And I just read and just was obsessed with learning about photography whenever he napped. And I basically started shooting raw the moment I got my camera. I had learned all about lighting and all that kind of stuff. So when I just hit the ground running, so within 2 months, I started portfolio building. And within 6 months, I started my business. And it was crazy. It was the wild west of Facebook. And like back in 2010, you basically just put up a page and it blew up. So literally overnight, it blew up in my city and I was booked out 8 months, 9 months in advance. And it just sort of continued and I kind of just fell into business. And then after a couple of years, I had blown up so much that I had really gained some international popularity, which was really cool, but also super overwhelming. And I was getting all these questions from all these photographers, literally hundreds a week, asking me how I was doing posing, lighting, editing. And a good friend of mine said, hey, why don't you create a course to teach them how to do this? And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. She's like, well, fun fact, I do. So we partnered up and we started the Milky Way in 2012. And we've been together ever since. And that's sort of how it all kind of evolved and came to be. And then in 2015, we started doing online retreats. So it wasn't just me as the Milky Way. My photography business is Milk and Honey, which is why we called it the Milky Way. It was my way. But then by the time we started having other photographers come on in 2016, we were like, well, we can't really change our name at this point. And so the Milky Way just stuck, even though it's kind of silly. And yeah. We've had over, 30,000 students through our courses and retreats over the past 12 years. And it is my love and my passion to just help brand new photographers with their craft and just gaining that confidence that they don't have in the beginning. And just really, it's so amazing. Like you've been in one of our instructors for our retreats and you see someone who is really not that confident going into it. And then within weeks, their skills are improving so much. And I just had this big mama bear pride. It's so cool what I get to do. Yeah. And then I started a podcast and we just had our 4-year anniversary.
Wow.
And yeah, it's been wild. 300,000 downloads and just been fun. It's just, I don't know, the adventure of a lifetime.
Well, it is your lifetime, right? So well, we get one. I think that's... I have the mama bear feeling too about my students. And I just think that I see such a difference in confidence. And I think mine's more about them running the business. And then yours is more about wow, I told them one thing, they implemented it. And now their work is, wow, you've just changed the angle slightly. But that one thing has made them really. So you've told us a little bit about why photography and how your business sort of exploded. I started in 2010, but I had a website and I did have a Facebook page, but mine sort of went more, I have a background in marketing, so mine was more of the traditional, I'm going to build my awareness and do that. But it's a very different time now, I think, too.
It's completely,
but
yeah.
I mean, obviously you did really well right from the beginning. But if you were to go back in time, what would you tell Lisa to do in 2010?
Raise your prices, don't burn out, have business boundaries, schedule working hours, schedule your editing time, and don't say yes to every opportunity because not every client is for you.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
There's room for everybody to succeed. And just because someone can't afford you doesn't mean you suck or you need to change your prices or lower your prices. It just means they're not the client for you.
Agreed. I mean, mine definitely was boundaries. That was the big thing for me. It was more like, and scheduling time. I love the fact that you schedule editing time too, like, because you have to, otherwise you're like,
Yeah. Or even just deciding that I no longer want to work weekends because, I had at the time, I think when my son Van was about 4 or 5 and my husband's like, do you have to work weekends?
Right.
We never get to see you. You're out working evenings, shooting family sessions. You're out in the evenings on the weekend. You're scheduling newborns on the weekend. Like we kind of never see you.
Right.
And then I think it was 2015, I decided I wasn't going to work weekends anymore. And it was on a business trip with Aaron and just made that decision. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to blow up my business.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be ruined now. And you know what happened? Nothing. My clients adapted. I got weekends off and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay. It's okay to pivot and change it anytime.
I remember I started my business when I didn't have a child. But then in 2015, I had my daughter and that fall was eye-opening for me. And I was juggling. My fall schedule is nuts. So I was like, after this one, it's my return clients only for the fall. Because I just can't meet new people. It's a lot on you, right? And I remember the next year, I was like, I'm going to schedule some weekends off, in the fall. And so it was a Halloween parade. And I remember one of my clients came up to me in the village Halloween parade and said, you said you were busy today. And I was like, what? I'm like, yeah, I am with my life. Yeah. I was like, you weren't available today. That's what she said. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I wasn't available. I have a life. But it was an eye-opening. And
wild.
And then, from then, I just was like, I'm not doing weekends because it's not worth it for me. And newborns, people are very flexible. They will come in. They will. Dad can come early or you go early, and the kid leaves for school.
Yeah.
So if you had to move your business to, all right, let's come down the street from me in New York, what would be the first thing that you would do? Tell a new photographer.
Oh, that's a really, really good question. I think what I would do is I would start networking. I would look at my local area. I would maybe find some mom groups. There is another photographer, and you have to forgive me. I had her on the show, and I can't remember who she is. I think it's Fiona Margot. And what she does is she hosts events at her studio where she has mom groups and does play dates. So she's inviting her target market to have these hosted events where she brings in some goodies that they just get to come and play. And she has different speakers come in. It could be a lactation consultant. It could be a sleep expert, and sort of tap into that market that you're looking at and sort of figure out ways that you can work and network with actual humans. So I've been terrible on social media on my own Milk and Honey Instagram page. And I am in the process of trying to figure out how to get back into it. But I think if I had the opportunity and knowing what I know now, I think I would go in and I'd start educating, talking about things in the area. I would be talking about what are the best baby-friendly restaurants in the area and just really tagging out the local community. So you're kind of just becoming part of that community because people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And it's all about building relationships and building that trust with you and just repeatedly showing up, being visible. Yeah, that's probably what I would do.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love the networking of local businesses. And it's funny because I hate the word networking.
I know, right?
But I think it's just making business friends. I feel like
it's friend making.
I was just like, I'm making my business friends and I'm going to help their business and kind of just making new friends, and which is hard to do as a grown up. I mean, right? A lot of things are hard to do as a grown up. But anyway,
or even finding who are the local influencers in the area, who has the biggest followings, and maybe offering to do a comp session in exchange for some marketing exposure because you're new, right?
As long as they target your audience, right? Because I've had a lot of people being like, oh yeah, I have 100,000 followers and I sell dog food. It's like, okay.
Yeah, nope.
Okay.
Now, maybe like more like the mod bloggers, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because back in, I think, 2013, I had an idea and I did that, but I did it more for Instagram wasn't around. Now I'm like, oh, I would have done it. I did sort of an exchange for a blog writer on their website. And now that I think back on it, I was like, I should have gotten more social media from it. But, but it's good. It's still a backlink and still recommendation.
Totally, right?
So you have a lot going on, a podcast, education, photography business. So when you were just doing your photography business, I mean, sounds like you've been doing the education a lot more than even I remember. But like, the tip about scheduling your editing time is amazing. But like, how would you manage your time, or how do you manage your time? Or if you don't, it's okay, because we all sometimes wing it.
I would say I was a long lesson student who had to like make up a lot of mistakes a lot of times, repeatedly banging my head against the wall, repeatedly hitting burnout, repeatedly over drinking, just doing all the things that we shouldn't do to come out the other side. It was probably around the pandemic, honestly, that everything changed. And I realized the depth of my burnout and the depth of how it was affecting my health and my relationships. And at that point, it was good that my business kind of came to like a very halting stop, but it was also glaringly obvious on the areas I really, really needed to change.
Yeah.
And because I have had such an incredible loyal following and loyal clients that I was always booked, but I was always booked at undercharging prices, I felt like I couldn't get off the ride.
Yeah.
So it was about almost 2 years ago where I just made the decision, well, the ride's broken and everybody has to get off. Nobody gets to go on the ride until I can fix this thing. And then it took some time. Like I wasn't going to just fix the ride and go right back in. I'm like, what do I actually want my life to look like? Right? What do I want my life to feel like? And so what I did is I basically said, okay, nobody's getting any photography for the next year unless I'm shooting for educational purposes with Milky Way. Nobody's getting on the ride, which was great because then I started scheduling my editing time during my work hours. Now I like to work when my son's at school.
Yeah.
So typically he's at school from Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 to 5 because he goes to football in the gym after. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I work from 8 till 3. And so those are my windows of I'm available to do everything. And other than that time, I'm off living my life, being creative, having fun, reading a book, having dinner, or just binging Netflix, like what I should be doing, right? So what that told me is I really love to leak time. And unless I have a list of all the things I need to do and all my priorities of things I need to do, I'm going to waste time and energy because I have ADHD. Unless I have like a full list of the things that need to be done because people are depending on me, I will sit and I will scroll on TikTok for 5 hours and do nothing. And then I'll be on the crunch going, oh my gosh, where'd my day go? So I really figured out like I had to really take control of my time and boss myself and be accountable and responsible to my own time. Otherwise, it was leaking in and affecting the rest of my life.
How do you boss yourself? I need to do that. I need to.
Honestly, it's okay. This is my window of time. And like, what's going to happen if I don't do this? Well, my husband's going to be annoyed because I got the laptop out and he wants to watch this show and talk about it. Oh my gosh. Side note, my husband likes to watch the news, but pause the news and discuss the news. Well, and I'm, oh my gosh, which it sounds lovely. It drives me bonkers. And so my husband, he wants my full attention.
My husband takes 20 minutes. He has to watch all the previews. I've already said, I can watch that one. I can watch that one. I cannot watch that one. And I'm asleep by the time he picks the show up. I just pick it. So
I've already read everything online. Like, I don't need to watch the news, Lovey. Like, can I do something else?
Bless.
Yes. Bless his heart. He just wants to spend time with me. And that was the key. He just wants to spend time with me. So if I'm stealing that time by not doing my work when I'm supposed to be doing my work. And right. But also give yourself days off. Give yourself mental health days. If you need to take a day off, take a day, right? And if you have deadlines or if you've told your clients it's going to be XYZ amount of time to get the session done, we'll schedule that time where you're going to get it done. Schedule in buffer time in case you have a sick kid or you honestly just don't feel like doing it that day. And then you have another day you can do it. And then things get done and you don't feel under the gun all the time.
Yeah, I think that that's key. It's actually telling your client. So for me, it was always a 3-week turnaround, 3 weeks. And then I would say 4 weeks in the fall. And so I knew I sort of have paper lists of like what they, where they are in the status of editing. But yeah, I could have it done sooner, but I would just put it in my calendar of gallery release day. I just put it in like 3 weeks after. But I love that what you say is how to put what you're missing out on as sort of like a burden in terms of, all right, my daughter's going to be mad because I have to get on my computer and, it's supposed to be our time, or even scheduling time off or giving yourself grace. I realize as a photographer, when you're busy and you're doing like back-to-back newborn shoots, I only ever did one in a day because I just can't. I don't know how people do more than one in a day. But if you've been going, when you have that day off, car is not getting out on neutral. You have to give yourself some time off. Otherwise, you're just going to beat yourself up because you scrolled on TikTok for 5 hours and then it starts a death spiral. So how would you say you cope with seasonality as, you have families and newborns? I know as a newborn family photographer, we have the same thing. It's not as much as if I was a family photographer, but how have you coped with that over the years?
Well, over the years, I always had a number of maternity and newborn sessions I would allocate per month. So I would allocate a certain number of maternity, newborn, cake smash, sitter session, and family session when I was doing those all. And when I was full, I was full. I'm also a people pleaser. So when I was full, it also meant if I really like you, it means you can still get in. Right. And so, which is why I had to stop the ride.
Right. Same. Okay, I'll squeeze you in at 2:00 on Saturday when I'm supposed to be somewhere. Yeah.
Exactly. And like even like our family vacations, my poor husband, and even now he's like, so July and August, you're not booking anyone, right? Like the last 2 years, I haven't booked anyone. He's like, yeah, but I just want to make sure that you're not going to be driving home from our time at the lake to go shoot a newborn session because your favorite client is having one. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I do that. So no, I'm not doing that. But I think it's basically crunching your numbers, figuring out how many sessions you can handle at max, drop it by 2, and then maybe just raise your prices so all the numbers work. Yeah. Crunch your numbers. I'm due to crunch my numbers again.
I will help you.
We all are. Like things are always changing. Yeah. And I think it's never a one and done.
No.
And I think that's what happens is like you look at maybe the expenses you had in 2016, you're living in those expense land when maybe you've got very, very different expenses in 2024.
Yeah.
And you're not being as profitable, also, right? Like you maybe
8 years of growth. You deserve a pay raise. Absolutely. Like I look around me, I'm like, you've had that price for 10 years. Like, come on, you've probably, like it floors me. It's like,
you're on the Costco hot dog.
Not like, and in the pandemic, actually, I had raised my prices over the years, but I'd given a couple of clients, okay, well, you still can have the $950 or the $1050, whichever one it was. And I just sent out the regular pricing and it was like $1350. It wasn't that much. And she was like, well, I can't believe your prices have gone up so much, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, do you realize you have 2011 pricing? That's 10 fall sessions ago. I deserve a raise, right? So, but I didn't. I mean, I did raise it, but it was just kind of, hard. Well, speaking of clients, do you have any funny stories about clients?
Gosh, I have like a horror story.
Yes, tell me horror stories.
One that I was like completely mortified. This was actually the catalyst to me stopping doing family sessions. And so I had a session and I love to go do family sessions out in beautiful fields full of flowers and greenery and just shoot in someplace gorgeous, right?
Yeah.
Well, it had been a very, very rainy season and I had been out there the day before to check it out. We get there and they had actually shown up in 2 cars and we're walking into the field and I guess there had been a mosquito bloom and they were attacking the kids. They were attacking the dad. It was pretty bad. But it was so bad that the dad started screaming at me. What? He was swearing. He was screaming. It was all my fault. Then he got in the car and drove away. He left his family there. Yeah. Like the mom was mortified. I was mortified. I've found out since then they're no longer together, which actually makes sense. Right?
Yeah.
But holy, like, I really was like, oh my gosh, I am such a bad photographer because I should have known. How would I know that there was a mosquito bloom, honestly?
No.
And the thing was, is I had a backup location that I was saying that we could go to, and he was just losing his mind. So kind of just decided after that I was done with dads for a while, honestly. And so I just said, okay, no more family sessions. That really kind of broke me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd had a few dads. They were not my favorite. And I know, and it's funny because I've since come back where I love the dads that I do work with now. I think they just maybe had a bad batch of, and I'm a sensitive soul, right? I'm going to take things to heart, and which is sort of sometimes my downfall. And I will just be like, nope, nobody gets to play with me now.
Right. Well, I think we give so much of ourselves. Like we give so much of our art and our time and the energy for a family shoot. Is a lot, and you're giving. And then if someone's just like cutting it down, and I've had a few, and I do think I can get away with it with my English sarcasm. Because I do bite back a little bit. And I remember this one guy, and it's funny because he actually is probably one of the only dads that really refers me to people. But I don't know, I'd gone there early. It was a newborn session. It was in New York City. It was like 7:30 in the morning, and I was lugging my beanbag. And this was like 2010. And he said some snippy, snarky comment in them. And I just zipped back. I can't remember what it was, but I snarked back, and he started laughing. And then now he refers me to people as like, oh, she's kind of funny and it doesn't suck. And it was like, okay, that's a really great referral.
That's funny. But like, that's my tag.
Yeah. But like, sometimes people don't realize how hard it is to sort of try and get everyone. And in my prep guide now, I'm like, even if the grown-ups don't want to be there, kids feed off negativity. I got very strict in COVID with my prep forms because I was like, I want you to be here as little time as possible. So I'm like, don't argue in the car because then they're thinking that I suck. Don't do this. Don't do that. Suck it up. You're paying for it. Suck it up for an hour.
I am not the photographer that has their clients for an hour and a half and does adventure sessions. Like, I am in there to get it done as quickly and efficiently as possible with the best results.
Yeah.
And it's, I was like, literally, dude, we're only going to be here like 15 minutes. Like,
I believe he drove off. I mean, I can't.
Yeah, no, it was shocking. It was shocking. And it was like almost like a peely out kind of drive off too. So you're just,
he did not want to be there. And he took it out.
It was such a man tantrum. And I'm just like, buddy, like,
imagine being married to him.
There's obviously something more going on. They're no longer married though. So I mean,
that's right.
To each their own. Hopefully I don't know, I wish him the best, and hopefully he's found happiness and peace.
Not taking it out on any other photographers. Please don't. Yeah. It's very hard because some of it, we take it so personally. Yeah. But really it was stuff that was going on in his life.
Absolutely.
And it's not to do with the mosquitoes and you. And
And even like clients showing up and you can tell that they've had a fight in the car.
Yeah.
And like tension's really running high. Or I've had sessions where dad never even showed up. He just said, I'm out. Like, I'm not showing up for a family session. So we ended up just doing a motherhood session.
Yeah.
And, like, you just sometimes have to roll with it. And sometimes you reschedule. I don't know. I think it's just treating your clients with as much compassion as you would want to be treated.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I find that when I sort of get the energy that, like, the parents are sort of stressed probably because she's had to get 5 kids dressed and matching and, like he's running from work or vice versa. I just talk to the kids. I just talk to the kids first. I'm like, let them come down from whatever they're doing. And in fact, I just talk to the kids first because then they're like, oh, wow, she's talking to me first and not the parents? I'm cool. I don't know. It's a little trick that I do. And people are like, why? I was like, because one, they're tiny humans and they're so cute. And that's all I want to talk to. No, I do want to talk to the parents, but sometimes the energy there is you have to give them a minute to calm down a little bit.
Yeah.
So what is the one thing that you would tell? I mean, you talk to so many new photographers. So like if your son decides, hey, I want to be a photographer, what would you tell him? What's the one thing you would tell him to do?
Consistency is king. Honestly, you just got to keep plugging along with consistency with anything.
Right.
Consistency with weight loss, consistency with starting a podcast, maintaining a podcast, starting a business. Consistency is king. And even if you can only give a C+ effort on days, it's still just give that C+ effort. Some days you're going to have an A effort. Some day you're going to have a B. Sometimes you might have an F, but you can average out with a C+.
Yeah.
And
that's okay.
You know what? That's okay. C+ is still passing.
Well, it's right? More that it's better to just be consistent and show up every day, even if it's a tiny bit, because it's progress, right? If you just then, which I tend to do, is go and then break, and then your body is just like, Jane, if you'd have just done those blog posts, once a week for a year, instead of thinking you can write 50 in a week and then don't do anything for another 5 years.
Well, the thing is, like, if you think about it too, is like, say, for example, you've got like a monthly newsletter, and I'm terrible so I don't do this right now, but this is my plan when I do go back, is you do a monthly newsletter. So why not sit down and write all 12 of them at once?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they're done.
Yeah.
And you're not thinking about it anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Because you'll just think about it every month, right? But if you have the formula of like, maybe you want to include a recipe, and like the only thing you have to include is like a tiny little antidote of something that's going on in your life at that time during that month.
Yeah.
But you got everything else. You got your marketing, you got like albums on sale in September, or whatever you want to do, right?
I do that in January. And I think it's kind of funny because I sort of forget about them. And so kind of copy and paste from the last year. So it's really easy, because then it'll just change an image, because I get new clients. And you know what? No one's going to be looking at my get ready for spring email that's the same as last year. No one is going to notice. And if they do, they don't care. And we overthink all the time.
It's the biggest thing I think that photographers miss the mark on too, is not generating an email list.
Yeah. Because
if Facebook and Instagram were to go down like they like to go down, do you have a business?
Right.
Like if you're collecting all the names in your Picsello, and you can collect all the names, and you've got that database, you can send out your list, your marketing, right? But if you don't have that, you have zero marketing plan, and you're relying completely on Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't seem like...
No, not Facebook Messenger. A lot of photographers are booking via Facebook Messenger, and I highly recommend at least grabbing an email address. And also, you might have their cell phone number, but it's not the same professional as an email. I mean, get their phone number, great. But first of all, email address and what type of session it was, because when you go back and you can market them and segment your email, if someone's a headshot, they're not going to get the same as a family email. But I agree. Email is king.
Email is the entire reason I booked out holiday mini sessions years. I would book them. I would send out the email in August, and my clients were trained to know that there was like an automated system where they had a calendar where they would pick their time, they would pay their deposit. So the only thing I had to do was send the email.
Yeah.
And so they pick their time, they pay their deposit, they get all the confirmation. It was booked out within 30 minutes with 87 spots.
And that's a very good point, is we see a lot of people advertising mini sessions, but you're sending it to existing clients, right?
Yeah.
You've built your business up. So for people starting out and you're just doing minis, you really got to start building up your email list. It's funny, I never did minis. I talk too much. And I think I spend the first 15 minutes chatting with the kids. So, but I do full. And plus I'm like, I'll just do a full family session. They're going to be paying for it in the fall anyway. So why not? I noticed, I was looking back, I started doing it in August, and then it was July, because people would book late August because of getting busy. And I think in March in 2020, because it was going out and I forgot about it during the pandemic, I was back up to March and people would be booking for the fall. So you can, and now people say, oh, I'll just go the same day next year. I'm like, okay, I'll put you in and I'll send you an invoice.
Like, how wonderful.
In January. Which also should be selling on the shoot, the next shoot, with the kids. Because I always do, next shoot we should do, the kids will be older, we can go on this location. And then just getting them thinking about the next shoot with me, and always be selling, always. Anyway, this has been amazing. You have so many tips and you're just a fabulous human. I love talking to you all the time. It will be in the show notes, but tell our audience how they can find you.
Okay. Well, you can find us at themilkyway.ca, over on Instagram and TikTok. We're at Milky Way Fun. There is an entire YouTube channel with tons of content that we're hoping to start producing some new content for it. And I think that's YouTube at Newborn Photography. And there's the Art and Soul Show, which has 200 plus episodes where you hear interviews, and I've got some solo podcast episodes there too. And it's just, you can find us all on everywhere.
Okay, yeah. And in June, the family retreat's coming out too. So we'll pop that in there too. That's another great one. You have such fantastic photographers on there. I'm always like in awe. I take it every year.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to share who we've got for this next one with this incredible artist, incredible topics. Oh my gosh. Like seniors and pets and families. So many great topics.
Okay, cool. This has been amazing. Thank you so much. And we will speak to you soon.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.